Welcome back to AtlantisTv. We're still on our segment on Project Nigeria. We're discussing value system. In the two previous segments, we defined value system, and then our guest today actually defined the influence of culture and tradition on our value system. And we both agree from the discussant, I think there is a marked erosion of our value system, given our culture and tradition. And we're going to take it a step further to propose solutions to how we are going to show up our value system to such that we'll be proud of as Nigerians. Yes, given the fact that we are a multicultural society, yes, it could be a hindrance, but I think we can utilize that to our advantage as a people, because amongst all of the cultures that actually make up Nigeria as we know it, each and every one of those cultures actually encourages good values, as we should know it. So we still have in our studio today to discuss that Mr. Ani Oluku and Mr. Uyi. I hope I'll get your name right this time. Omori Hubon.
You are doing your bit. I will not want to hold it against you, because this is also a display or a manifestation of our value system, cultural differences. So
thank you so much for that correction, because I do know my last name is Nkerewem, and if you mispronounce that, as a matter of fact, it could give you 3 different meanings. So I understand that.
There you go.
I'm being struggling with that. I think we'll get to that point.
There you go.
At some point, we'll get to where we are. It's still part of our value system to get all of this right. As a multicultural society, it's still an honor on each and every one of us to get.
You see, I find it very elating and uplifting that you are on the same page as I am, because when you mispronounce a name, it gives a different meaning entirely.
Absolutely.
Where I come from, basically, I was trying to tell you that earlier on. When you want to name a child, it's a very important occasion. Naming ceremony is a very important occasion. Like I have a number of kids. You see, I said a number of kids. That's my value system affecting me once again there, because you don't count children where I come from. But all my kids, all my kids, all their names have meaning, and they are a reminder of the circumstance during which they were given birth to. You understand? So all these names they are meaningful. Like when you say, like in a Western world, English language that we speak, though it's a borrowed language, it's what we were taught with English language from primary school, secondary to tertiary institutions. You understand? So like when you mention words like market, you're talking about a marketplace where people buy and sell things. When you say to market, you want to sell a product. You want a product to penetrate the market, the business world. See, I just brought that in as to let you know that we're on the same page. And
absolutely.
I'm consonant with what you're saying, talking about.
Yes. Let's go further on the value system. We have both established, my two guests here have established the fact that value system is dynamic. As a matter of fact, it evolves over time, but then there are still standards that are static, that you just cannot change, no matter how evolving the system is. Yes, Mr. Ani Oluku had actually introduced the influence of a foreign culture, and yes, so also did Mr. Uyi on our value system in the cultural context of it. Then, no matter how much our value system has evolved, there are still aspects of our value system that should be static. We cannot negotiate that away. There's just no way we can negotiate that away. Mr. Ani Oluku, are there parts of our value system you think should be static, or that we cannot really trade off?
I really don't get where you're coming from with value system being static. But what I have to say is that there's been an erosion of the good parts of our value system. And I think that the best way to bring us back to the good values that have led to good order in our community, in our Nigerian society, is the enforcement of laws. We have a lot of good laws on the books, but the enforcement is zero. All right. So we need to enforce the laws.
Yeah.
Not where just give me a minute.
What?
Not where someone violates the law, and just because you know a police commissioner, just because you know a judge, just because you know a prosecutor, you go home free. Like they say, there should be nobody above the law. So, but in the Nigerian society today, there are certain people that is above the law.
Yeah.
And that has to stop.
Absolutely.
It has to stop.
I agree
That
with
is
you.
all we need in the Nigerian society.
I agree with you on that, Mr. Luku, but let me be very specific on the areas that I think we cannot really negotiate away from our value systems. One of them would be dignity and respect for labor, and secondly, we have to have a respect for the rule of law, which you are actually trying to expand. We'll come back to that, as a matter of fact. And then the third one would be our lifestyle, living a modest lifestyle. So, Mr. Uyiyomoro, which of these three areas do you really think we can? Do you really think there could be? I'm not sure how to phrase it.
Anyway, let me just
Which
come
of
in.
these areas do you think
I
we can make a difference?
I think I have a hang of what you're talking about. Talking about coming in, the catch. The catch is here. The catch is this. You see, I'm trying to think of a very suitable explanation for this.
What?
You know, basically, well, let me forget about what I was thinking about. The value system, as it were, like basically, like I told you, I have my own personal definition that gives me a better concept of the word. You know, I see it as a barometer.
But don't you agree with me that the enforcement of the law is more important than anything else?
In fact,
we're talking about getting the value system to a better place,
okay,
to a better state. It is now in Nigeria.
I was getting to that, but now that you've drawn my attention to that, I would say that I disagree with you on that, because these laws have been there over time.
But we are talking about enforcing the law.
Okay, if you are talking about enforcing, how do you enforce the law? Are you going to use coercion to enforce the law, or you want to change the constitution? The Nigerian constitution has been there from time. The laws have been there. You see, if we say our value system has been eroded, which is engendered by thwarted philosophies, we will not be far-fetched. We will not be wrong to say you don't misplace priorities. Mismanagement. You know, our leaders that we have today are the problems. They are the bane of the national development. They are the bane of the progress. They have been the clog in the wheel because they have imbibed wrong philosophies. You see, these days the judiciary is like a one-stop shop center where you just go and justice is given to the highest bidder. That's not what we are about.
Mr. Uyi, let's. I actually identified three areas we really have to focus on here. One of them would be dignity and respect for labor. The second would be the respect for the rule of law, and then the third would be living a modest lifestyle.
Yeah, I understand. It's not as if I did not understand your initial question. He drew my attention to something, and I had to react to respond.
Absolutely, Mr. Nioluku.
So,
which of these areas do you really think?
Talking about okay, I thought you wanted me to talk about dignity.
I'm sorry, Mr. Nioluku. Which of these areas do you really think we can focus on?
Yeah, let's. Well, let's take a break.